OK, so let me start it this way. Great design builds trust between you and your users. If you had a banking app that would look like this, your users will have to think a couple of times before sending you money, right? It doesn't feel right. I'm Kacper. I'm a React Native open source developer at Software Mention. I help maintain Reanimated, gesture handler, React Native screens. Currently, I'm working on this new tool called React Native IDE that will help maybe developers with debugging React Native apps. But yeah, today I'm going to talk about interactions, about interaction design. These little big things that are kind of very important for the end users to build a cohesive experience to them. That's my thought. So yeah, what are those? What are microinteractions? I want to think about a car. Any car is fine. Is it Ford F-150? No? OK. Any car got something in mind? Good. OK. Dan Saffer, in his book about microinteractions, splits the interaction design into two, into macro interactions and, well, micro interactions. And macro interactions are the big things. These are the features. Back to a car. What's the main feature of a car? I would say a main feature, one single feature of a car is to getting you from point A to point B, right? Main feature of a vacuum cleaner is to vacuum. That's it. What are the microinteractions then? It's everything else. It's how the feel of the steering wheel, how it feels in your hands. It's the tactile feedback of dials clicking when you adjust the volume, right? It's the sound of the door when you close them. These are the microinteractions. And you can't tell me these are not important because, well, there is a difference between an S-Class Mercedes and a Ford Focus, right? You want to drive this one, most probably. No? You want to drive Ford F-150? OK, I got it. And microinteractions can sometimes lead to something called a signature moment. So there's really cool interactions that stick with users when they think about your app. So Instagram has a double tap to like. It's very iconic. It's like in songs and books, whatever. People talk about it. People instantly think about Instagram when they do tap to like. Next one is swiping on Tinder. So for example, now even Slack has it for its messages. Like, what? It's very iconic. Next one will be swipe up on TikTok for the next video. So currently it's in Reels and Shorts and etc. Yeah, it's a very iconic interaction. And microinteractions have a structure. They have some guidelines. And by pure coincidence, this is the exact agenda of my talk. So yeah, they have triggers, rules, feedback, loops, and modes. Let's start with triggers. Triggers is what starts an interaction. And they are both manual and automatic. With manual, I want you to think more like buttons. With automatic, more like notifications. I'll get to that in a second. So manual triggers is everything that the user has to interact with himself or herself. So we have buttons, sliders, toggles, also like shake to dismiss, something that the user has to make an action, right? What's interesting about manual triggers is that they can be invisible. So how do user know that you can swipe up for a next video? Well, they don't. You have to tell them. So a TikTok does swipe up for more, like a kind of animation. And I think it's pretty cool. It's brilliant, I would say. So you have to teach your users if something is an invisible trigger. So you have, for example, a swipeable row on Gmail, or something the same as a swipeable row on Instagram with you like a comment. You have to tell your user how to use it. In React Native, we have shake to debug. How do you know about it? Well, you didn't. You have to like try it, or someone had to tell you that. Triggers should initiate the same action every time. This slide, oh boy, this slide is why I made this presentation. I'm not even joking. There is an app in Poland for the national railroad system. And the app is, how to say it, it's bad. The worst part, I hate it so much, is this refresh button in the bottom right corner. What it does, if you tap it once, it will refresh the connections, right? But if you tap it twice, it will block the view, shouting at you, "You did wrong, how could you?" It says, "No, you can't do that." There are some probably legacy reasons for that. OK, I get it, but just don't block my view. Don't block the interactions of the app. A better way to do this would be to just say you're already up to date. That's it. Or just fail silently. That would be better. Do it like that. Don't block my view. OK, anyway. We had manual. We have automatic. And automatic triggers is everything that the system triggers. So we have time and date. So time would be, for example, an event in the future in your calendar, or a reminder, right? You didn't have to click to get a notification. Another one would be errors, something went wrong, OK? Other people, someone messaged you, that's also an automatic trigger. And location. So for example, your DoorDash delivery is nearby, right? Cool. And a good example about this is Slack on your anniversary shows you a confetti on your profile. Cool, harmless, very cool. We had triggers, we have rules. And rules govern interactions. They tell how the interaction should behave. And rules are kind of cool because your users have been using mobile apps for a decade now or more. They already know, even if they've never seen Spotify, they already know what this button should do, right? They have some mental model in their brain. So this button should, when the user taps it, should start the music playback, and it should change to pause. Don't break the mental model of the buttons. So if it looks like a button, it should behave like a button, right? People already know how most of the interactions should behave. And you can put interactions as a simple sentences. If your sentence is getting very long when you try to describe your interaction, you should split your interactions into separate ones, into smaller ones. So here I can start the music with the play button, where the noun of this sentence is the trigger. The verb is, well, the rule, right? So if the sentence is getting long, you should split it into smaller interactions. We are cross-platform developers in React Native. And yeah, we built for both iOS, Android, and other platforms. And these platforms have their own rules. If you want to display a modal, just use a modal. Just use a native modal. You can have it directly in the platform. Here on the right, we have someone tried to re-implement the modal, and it doesn't feel right. It doesn't look right. And it's not closable by gesture. I was so frustrated by the app. This is why it ran it on my presentation. So yeah, next one is feedback. We already kind of know what feedback is, but OK. Feedback emphasizes the rules. When you click something, something should happen. It makes sense. So a great example for this is back to the Spotify example. When the music is playing, even if your phone is in silent mode, you still get some feedback for the progress bar going, right? Cool. And there are different ways to convey feedback. My favorite, I'm working on Reanimated, so animations, they should be fast. Like, us developers, they take many hours to build animations, and we want people to notice. But if they are using this app 10 times, 20 times, and the animation is getting too long, they get frustrated. So we should keep them faster, I would say. I'll get to that later. Different on messages. So all the microcopy, all the labels and forms, it's another topic, really another presentation talk. But they should be concise. OK? Gotcha. Haptics are a very cool way to do feedback. Just don't overdo it. And there's also audio, but it's 2024. No one uses audio anymore. Unless you're using like building Duolingo or other language learning app, then yeah, audio is very useful to convey feedback. From animation expert, I want to say that. The default settings are too slow, I would say. I would say to go with half the default, which is 300 milliseconds. For most of the animations, I'll go around 150 to 100 milliseconds. That would be better. And with timing, you could swap it with Spring many times for have a like more physical feel of the animation. The default preset with Spring is okay-ish, but there is something you can improve always. It's a good starting point. So here I made it a bit fast, like it ends faster because I've dumped down the animation and make it more stiff, right? Okay. Loops and modes. Loops. We are programmers. We kind of know what loops are. But in interaction design, loops is something even more, I would say. So great example, that would be do something in the future. Remind me in 10 minutes. That's some kind of loop. Well, in interaction design, we would just use a sleep function or some timing, like, yeah, set interval, I want to say. Fetch data every 30 seconds, right? That's a loop. And try to reconnect 3 times, then fail. There are different loops, but these are one of the examples. And we collect data as developers about the users. If your users use that app a couple of times, you have some more that you know about them. So your interactions can adapt over time. You can make it better, make it faster for users, right? Make it more useful. A great example of this is Uber, where if you're at home and it's 3 a.m., you most probably it's work day, you most probably want to go to the airport. If it's 11 p.m. and you're downtown Portland drinking with the boys, you most probably want to go home. I don't have a screenshot for this, but you get the idea. The app learns about your behavior. But, well, don't get too creepy. Paul noticed you had some food. Will you share it with them? Sure, why not? Let's not go that way, OK? That's a bit too much. Modes, loops and modes. Modes are a completely different experience from what the users are used to, right? So here, it's a caps lock. It's a great example of a mode. So your keyboard works completely different. It's all in uppercase. And modes get to be confusing. Like, how many times have you tried to input a password, and it was caps lock, and it didn't work, and you didn't know about it? Like, many, I would say. So I want to say modes should be avoided, but no. Modes should be well communicated. So your phone does a great work when communicating that you are in a different mode, right? Your do not disturb mode. It's always present somewhere in the UI that your phone now works differently. You won't get calls, you won't get alarms, etc. So that's a good example of a well-communicated mode. What do you have now? Practice. OK, so I've made a couple of very, very quick, very easy animations in, well, you guessed it, Reanimated. So it will be very short. 3 examples. You can use the code right when you go out of the venue. Should be fast, should be quick, I promise. First interaction that I got for you is the spinning compass needle on the bottom tabs. It looks very, very cool, but it's very easy to do, actually. It's using a simple trick that this compass is a circle. So I'm doing here, I'm not actually animating SVGs, which can get really complicated really fast. I'm actually rotating the whole SVG as a view. We'll see it. Right. So you have a function component. It's an icon, right? It gets some React state from props. It's a Boolean true or false when the bottom tab is active. OK? Simple. We'll use that React state to create a new shared value using the useDerivedValue hook. You get that isActive state, And when it's active, you do an animation with spring 180. If it's not, you go it to 0. So now we've created a new shared value that goes from 0 to 180 with an animation in like 2 lines of code. Got it. OK. Next one, you use that shared value right here in the use animated style hook and create transform rotate rotation.value degrees. What it does, it will create an animation that rotates from 0 to 180 degrees. Simple. And then that's the same shared value we created as previous step. And then all you have to do is to just wrap that SVG and pass that animated style to the animated view. That's it. That's our whole animation. How many lines of code? I don't know, 6? Something around that. So once again, you create a new, OK, what is a shared value? OK, I should have started with that. Shared values are like the driving factor for all the animations in Reanimated. This is the state of an animation. OK, so we have a shared value. It changes from 0 to 180. You use that shared value in a use animated style to create transform rotates with that shared value. And you pass it to an animated view. That's it. Nice. Cool. First one done. OK, next. I call it a staggering animation. And it's very easy once you know like the trick. It's using the powerful layout animations from Reanimated. Layout animations are a way to animate elements that are added or removed from the native view hierarchy. And it's really, really simple. It's a single prop. So for example, you have a list of components, like a data coming from props as an array. And you map over it. There's a view, there's a text, hello chain react, whatever. And you make that components animated components. OK, pretty simple so far. The only thing you have to do, really, is to add one prop, the entering prop, right here and right here. We have like 10-ish presets for layout animation. So we have fade, slide, rotation, bounce, what else? Pinwheel, something like that. OK, you can just check the documentation. It's really cool. And here, they would all appear at the same time. What you want to do is to add a delay modifier to them, like that. And the trick is to multiply the index times the delay. So because it's an array, index starts from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you multiply it by the delay, you will get animation, right? Pretty cool, very easy. And that was it. How many lines of code? One prop. That's it. You have an animation that you can use right now in your apps. Last but not least, I've prepared for you amazing and magical shared element transitions. So shared element transitions is a way of animating elements across different navigation screens. And it's a single prop as well. They're currently kind of experimental. They're not very stable. Once you get it working on your dev environment, they will work in production as well, but please don't do this just yet. But there are some people that use it in production, but yeah, we don't recommend that. But OK, to the content. So we have a home screen and some view on it. You can animate both width, height, and border radius. And you have another screen. It has to be either in native stack or bottom tabs. Both Export Router and React Navigation works because they both use React native screens underneath. And what you have to do is to connect them via shared element tag. It has to be the same on both screens. That's it. Pretty, boom. You should clap now. OK. This talk was based on the great book about microinteractions by Dan Saffer. The examples are a bit dated, I would say. It's from 2013. But as you can tell, the theory still holds, and it holds back. Good, not bad, good. And the other source I'm using very often is design spells. It's a database of cool interactions that are very modern using right now, like Slack or Instagram or others. Very cool, highly recommended. Yeah, I'm from Software Mention. We are a software agency specializing in React Native and multimedia streaming. We also do backend, Elixir, Rust. You can come to us to the booth at the upstairs, and if you want to work with us, yeah, come talk to us. Yeah, thank you so much for coming. Thanks. Hope you liked it.